All right, and we're live.
I'm trying to figure out Peggy's comment.
Ready?
Ready.
Thank.
Welcome to Books You Never Read.
Except for those we have.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Jason.
And this is our week one discussion of Hero One Moment by Liane Moriarty. And if you have not read to chapter 72 yet, you need to stop. Hit stop on this little video, go read, and then come back and join us on the replay. We also have lots of other books playlisted for you in the playlist section of our channel, and we love to revisit those. So if you're joining us live, chat us up in the chat box, and if you're catching us on a replay, chat us up in the discussion box, because we love to relive the books and discuss them even way after that we've read them. We're on YouTube Music as a little old podcast, and we're on the Instagram for the memes.
I could feel your mood. You started here, and as you did your speech, you were like, "All right, I'm here now."
I'm all clogged up with allergies, and I can hear myself, and all I can think of is that I can hear myself talking, but I can't think of what I'm trying to say.
Don't say that.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Being aware of hearing yourself talking is the only thing worse than knowing you're gonna die.
Yeah, yeah. We already have some good comments going on in the chat.
Yeah, lots of talk today.
And I will say, if Peggy mentions Cherry, I love Cherry. Cherry's the death lady.
Yeah,
I love Cherry.
She seems cool.
She can't help what happened here, and she's mad, at the same things that we're mad at, and if she were in control of her actions when she did all that, then I wouldn't like her so much.
Yeah.
She just kind of had an episode.
Yeah. I'm not really sure who my favorite character is. I kind of like them all. I mean, I guess there's nobody that I dislike. There's they're
all just regular people.
Yeah, but that's kind of shocking because you feel like you'd be at least one where you'd be like, you can go.
You know who I didn't like? I didn't like the girls on the plane that were
oh yeah,
talking to Ethan.
Yeah,
I didn't like them.
Well, and I think we've had I think we've come back around to one of them.
I don't know if it was one of them. No, this was the sweet one that dropped her phone and was scared of flying. Yeah,
you're right. Yeah, I feel I feel like they got mentioned at least again once or twice.
Yeah.
But,
Aw, Shelby.
Yeah, but so...
Did you like West with Giraffe? Sorry. Random. You talk in the chat. You keep going.
I mean, she seems to like it. She put an exclamation point.
Yeah.
It's still our most watched video of all time. Those two.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm really enjoying this book. It took me a second to get excited about it, and then once I was excited about it, it was too late in the week, and I was really blasting because 72 chapters is a lot, even though some of the chapters are a sentence or so or whatever. The narrator on the audiobook does an absolutely fantastic job. It's not just one narrator. I think it's 2 or 3, but they're Australian people, and they do. And the best thing about this book, unquestionably, is just how real it is.
Yeah.
The dialogue and the thoughts and the way that people think about things and the way that sometimes they get caught up in their thoughts and they go too fast and they slow down.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, if you were just hey, what if we just read a book that was just about how do you write a mind, just stream of consciousness, I think this would be the book. I mean, it's really something. And I've said this several times before. I really enjoy stories that are just about people. They're not heroes; they're just people, and that is exactly what we have here. And so that's kind of cool.
It does distract me from the book. It did at first, anyways. Once we were in it, it didn't. But to read a book that has cell phones and Instagram and TikTok, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh yeah. I mean, that's for some reason. In real life, of course, but in a book, for that to be in there is still so weird to me. Yeah. Cherry makes Cherry nervous. Yeah.
I'm kind of interested to see where her storyline goes, right? We're learning more about this man who may or may not. I assume that's her husband. I don't know. But we're kind of progressing through her story finally. She's sort of the last character whose story is added to our list in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm. And it's fun to see the different generations in the book. just to hear things from their point of view. And I think that the author really captured their feelings pretty legit, like pretty realistically. Yeah. You know, you have Cherry who's like, I'm a baby boomer. She's like, and I guess that people don't like me because I've had some things come easier. Yeah. And I guess that's true. Yeah. And then, you know, like the couple that just got married, who I guess have never lived on their own before.
Ever. Yeah.
Before
I mean, they're
married.
like 19 or something. Yeah.
Golly.
Yeah, and they haven't like paid their bills. When we first moved in here, I didn't realize that my water heater was that what it was? I didn't realize the water heater was gas. Yeah. And so I didn't hook that up. I hooked up everything, but I didn't hook up my water heater. And everybody was here. We were moving in, and the water was cold.
Well, and it started hot because it had been hooked up. Yeah. And it was not reconnected. Yeah, it was very funny. But that's a far cry different from these kids who didn't realize, like, they didn't even get to take baby steps into paying their own bills. So failure of their parents on that one little end. I'm not saying that the parents were failures, but just on that one little thing, you know, it's important to make your kids have some responsibility for things as they're able to add on that responsibility. So like when they're in high school, they should, you know, probably try to get a job if they have time, you know, and maybe start paying for their gas or, you know, like they need to paying for their insurance, paying for something so they can start learning that like, as I have more responsibility and more freedom, I also have more cost, you know, and then it's not just this wild swing from being completely taken care of to, oh my gosh, I'm poor. You know? And I do feel bad for them, and I'm not criticizing because it's just realistic.
They might be one of my favorite like sets of characters. I like the way that she talks to herself, where she's like, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god." I just think it's very funny, and like her thoughts about the beach and how horrid it was when they first saw it, and just sort of like and all that. I do think there's a missed opportunity where we aren't seeing like his point of view, and I kind of wish that we were, because like how much is he obsessing about this? Because clearly he is. He went and bought handcuffs. Whatever.
Yeah, I'm worried for them. They're very stressed. Very fresh. Poor little kids. Scared to ask their parents for help because they're trying to be independent and trying to do it on their own. He crashed his little car. That whole thing.
Yeah.
I just felt so bad.
Yeah.
Oh, young love. They're so cute though, going through the airport in their little wedding clothes and
but I mean so we have Sue kind of mentioned like, you know, I wonder if it's real. So that's the main mystery, right? Like, is this prediction real and what does that mean? But then there's this second mystery. What's up with Cherry's everybody means something to her thing?
Yeah, she just had a weird day.
Yeah, but so like what's up with the weird day?
That this was out of the ordinary for her, that she doesn't make like predictions like this.
Yeah, but like, you know, the girl was wearing her wedding dress and all these people in the airport reminded her of somebody. And there was the thing about the brooch, she couldn't get it on, you know. Part of this takes me back to 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle, and like what happens when we find out that she was like possessed by an angel or something to, I don't know, tell people about their deaths or that this is some experiment. I'm incredibly concerned that this is going to go full Lost on us. Sorry, I'm going to ruin it for you. And like everybody on the plane is dead, and she's like helping them all come to peace with it, and like that's the story. Like there's like they think like really the plane is like taking them to the afterlife, and she's like telling them this is how you're going to die, but like they are dead, and what we're doing is just sort of like reliving their deaths,
trying to get them to the end so
something.
They realize that it's over.
I don't know. If that happens, I'm going to be mega pissed off.
That's not what I thought would be how this ends at all.
I sure hope not, because it's been done. So
her narration is all about, I don't know, I kind of lost it as I was going to say it, but she has like all these little nuggets of wisdom in her narrative moments. It's usually like the little last sentence of it, you know. And I just,
so like, but so what's the point? Like, why did this happen? I mean, it doesn't matter.
Right, I think it doesn't matter.
I don't think it matters either. And I suspect that we're gonna have like several more people die, like as predicted,
Mm-hmm.
and then maybe like one escapes, right? Like maybe one doesn't have it happen, and like that's kind of the point where you're just like, oh, I don't know, right? Is it a fluke that these people did die, or is it a fluke that they didn't die? Like, which ones? Um, I'm real worried about the mom that teaches her baby how to swim because now I'm concerned that the baby's comfortable in water, so that's how
Right.
it dies. Like,
I was gonna
okay,
say those who can't swim don't drown because they
yeah,
stay out of the water.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought that that was fun, just kind of getting some background into their family. And now both the kids wear the evil eyes, and which I'm wearing one of mine today just for the
Oh, okay.
just for the show. But at the same time, like even Cherry says that like once you wasn't it Cherry that said that like you're kind of armed with knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and so you change your behaviors. And so, like, there's still some choice there in how you live your life.
Is there? Because the young lady who was driving slow, and if she had
Mm-hmm.
driven faster, she would have been at a different
And
intersection.
that very much could have just been a coincidence. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like, so far, the deaths that have happened could just very coincidentally
Yeah.
be deaths. I mean, the 101 and 102-year-old were already 99 and 100 or 100 and
Yeah.
101. I mean, like, they're already past their prime. Like any minute now,
Yeah.
it's their time to go. And, it's very sad to think about, but, sometimes young people do have car accidents that, not their fault and they were doing all the right things, but it just could be a coincidence.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna, and there's all this conversation about free will or whatever, and the concept of like a clairvoyant implies that there's like there's a deterministic future.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see why, like when you're talking, and I'm like, I don't see that any different than time travel, right? Being able to go to the future or being able to see the future, I don't think is sufficiently different. And so, like, I don't know. I guess in this concept, you could have both free will and know what is going to happen. Like, I don't. And then you can choose and choose and choose and choose and choose. But like, you can whenever you have free will, all you can do is control your own actions. You can't
Mm-hmm.
control whether or not you get hit by a car.
Right.
Right. Like, I don't know. I think there needs to be some more exploration there because I think it's sort of like a false dichotomy at this point. I'm not here for the free will. I think the concept of free will boggles my mind that people think that that's real. The concept of determinism also boggles my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I think both are like weird philosophical points of view that have no basis in reality. And so like I don't care. Like I don't
Yeah.
I don't feel like either of these should be the answer.
Well, and she brings up the Monte Carlo situation,
Mm-hmm.
and I think we're supposed to make some parallel between the Monte Carlo
Yeah.
event and her predictions.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are coming true. That doesn't mean that there's something really special happening here.
Yeah.
It's just happenstance.
Yeah, it's just that now. Well, yeah, and like if all deaths are predetermined, because there's no reason to suspect that just theirs are predetermined, right? If all deaths are predetermined, then absolutely not. The only thing that is special is that now you know,
Right.
And if it is predetermined, then the knowing is taken into account. I guess you know what I mean. Like, okay,
Yeah.
but I have a few. We're gonna have people who believe it, and so far everybody is believing it. We don't have anybody who is like absolutely ignoring it, as best I can tell. Like maybe the 100-year-olds or somebody, but the everybody who is believing it is dying. But also, what if everybody who doesn't believe it also dies? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and this goes back to the free will thing, I guess, because I'm not here for it. I think people have will. I'm not saying you can't make choices. I don't agree. I don't think they're free. You have a finite set of choices. You have a predisposition to the things you could choose.
Mm-hmm.
I could choose. Like so. The guy with the that's gonna spousally abuse his wife or whatever. He could, if he was truly free, he could just choose right now today to go ahead and kill her and get it over with. He could. Why let her suffer? Waiting for me to kill her. Let's just bite the bullet and get it done, right? he can't choose that. That's not something that's like in him to choose. He theoretically has that choice. He cannot do that. It's not gonna happen, or like the circumstances are not ever gonna be dire enough right now for him to do that. I don't know. I just and so I guess the point is like it's if it's not determined and it's not free, people will react or they will not react, and then that just like goes into the mix with everything else. And
I'll tell you my little prediction about this young couple. They are going to worry themselves into ruining their marriage, and she's going to get remarried, and that's the one that's going to get her.
Yeah,
it's not going to be this little guy. Yeah. This guy who won't take even fee from his canceled clients. Yeah. Child.
Well, and like I don't even see why it has to be her spouse, right? Just death by spousal abuse or whatever it was, right? Or like what happens if she gets between some dude who's trying to shoot his wife and...
Yeah, it was worded very oddly.
Well, and that's like the guy with the assault, right? Like he dies in an assault. That does not imply a fight, sir. He keeps saying fight.
Yeah.
No, sir. That is not what that said.
Aw, poor little Ethan. Also, as we've wrapped up this part of the book, all of the characters that we're following are determined to find her.
Yeah.
And so I guess that'll be the second part of the book is all of them.
Well, she made a mention at one point. This is before anybody knew my name. Right? Yeah. So like, of course they will find her.
Yeah. One of her little the Death Lady's nuggets of wisdoms, you never know what your last words are going to be. So try to choose them all wisely. That's a good one.
I'm also going to say this, that we don't know who Cherry is speaking to. You know, like it seems to be indicating police. I have a feeling that it's not the case. It's going to be God, or she's going to be speaking to the dead, or she's going to be telling this. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, she's definitely telling a story to somebody, or she's talking to us directly. Yeah. I don't know.
If she is speaking to the police, she should have a lawyer. That's all I got to say about that. If you predict how much people are going to die, and then they do, you should get a lawyer. One of my favorite lines in there is when somebody was like, "That's not me. I'm not spiritual. I'm Anglican." That was so funny. Did her husband die of a broken neck? Oh, I don't remember.
Who?
I think we're talking about the young couple's husband.
The young couples.
The married people. We've been talking about them.
Did her husband die of a broken neck?
Is that his prediction?
Oh, I don't remember.
I don't know that we know his prediction because he wasn't paying attention. We'll have to go back and look. I feel like
I only remember hers.
Let me tell you what, I got kind of frustrated when I read 23 chapters of people being like, "Wait, sorry, what?" Just like, time of death, manner of death. Oh, like 20 chapters. Oh, Cherry's husband.
I don't know how Cherry's husband died. I don't remember her even talking about her husband. I was cracking up. Oh yeah, vulnerable neck. Yeah, I do remember that now. Anyways, I was cracking up at the movie happening in my head of the flight attendant trying so hard to get to Cherry and get that woman back to her seat, and just like all the things getting in her way, and it was. Well,
I think Shelby was saying like this is a little too close to home because she spends a lot of time on planes, and like I have been on planes a lot. I don't spend a lot of time on planes, but I have. Boy, I feel for some of those people.
The puke in between her toes. Yeah. I'm very worried about her prediction. You know, what's going to happen in the next, 11 months. Yeah. Within the next 11 months.
She's going to get addicted to opiates, right? That's where we're going.
Aww.
Because she has this back pain from that day. I mean, like, that's what I think is going to happen. Because it keeps implying that she's, like, on the pills and she has trouble getting up and everything. And, it's referenced the pain pills too much for it to.
But she said she's not taking them anymore.
I don't think that's what it said.
She told her mom that her back was better. She wasn't taking them anymore.
That's why it's going to be that.
It's funny that she's dating the pilot, but like,
not really.
What a jerk!
Yeah.
You know, you could just you could just be nice, pilot, and not throw the donut in the trash. Like, why?
Also, I have a suspicion that Ethan is going to get together with his friend's sister. Yeah, that definitely seems to be the case.
Yeah, so he's not dying anytime soon.
He's going to die.
Well, this has to happen first because the other clairvoyant saw love on the horizon.
Yeah, he'll get assaulted by like her ex or something.
Oh no!
I mean, it's gonna be something weird. It's all gonna tie in together. So, lady comes up on a plane. She says, "I'm gonna tell you how you're gonna die." What do you do?
Probably talk to her or let her tell me. I don't care.
Punch her in the mouth. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not really.
I mean, that's fine.
Okay, so let's say so
thank you for your feedback.
I do not believe in psychics. I do not care. I see no evidence, right? Like I'm very much like the guy who's like, I need some evidence or whatever. Right? Like,
well, even Cherry is very logical.
Yeah, you're right. And she doesn't have an explanation. Anyway, but so the point is, like, if somebody comes up on a plane, they're like, you're gonna die in 2026 of kidney failure or something. Like, are you changing the way you live your life?
I might make sure that, like, I'm drinking plenty of water.
I don't know.
I
don't think I'd worry about it.
My memory is so bad that within a week I'd be like, wait, did he say kidney or did he say, like, appendix?
That's funny.
Liver?
Yeah.
Heart. I mean, I wouldn't even know anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It'd just be a moving target to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
But my mind is one of those minds that just likes to black out anything unpleasant.
Yeah.
And I just forget. So it wouldn't bother me. I will say, though, you know, I don't believe in, like, I don't believe anything about fortune telling is true, but I do enjoy tarot card readings.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cold reading is very interesting.
Yeah, and for one of the reasons that was actually mentioned in the book, it's that it like gives you a different lens through which to look at your world. Mm-hmm. And it does help kind of open your mind to different opportunities that are awaiting or new ways to process things that are happening to you. And it's nothing magical and it's nothing special, but I do enjoy it.
Yeah.
If I had the cards memorized, I would do it more often. You, however, you and your friend do the best tarot bro readings ever.
It's true.
Just making it up based on the pictures, and they're so good.
Very good. Very accurate. Well, but I mean, there's definitely a skill to cold reading and things like, or there's a skill to putting things together. You know, so for example, Cherry mentions that her mom makes this prediction to this first lady that like she's gonna have a grandkid, but she has like 3 daughters that just got married. So like you pick low hanging fruit, and then especially like with Ethan, where he starts like giving information, then you start playing with that or whatever. And it's very interesting to watch people who are masters of it do it, and like they have Vegas shows and things like that where people do it. I mean, it's not real, but you imbue it with meaning, right? And I think that's kind of where we're going with this, is because these people believed it was true. They started changing their behaviors. They gave this thing meaning. Isn't that like a Harry Potter thing too, where like the prophecies are only real because people believe it or whatever? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, and that's real, right? Like if you believe that you are the chosen one, you're going to start acting chosen one-y and maybe do some truly terrible things because of this belief. You know, if you've been raised by your parents to believe that you're a little princess and everybody thinks and that you should be taken care of and you're the best thing ever, like you're gonna be a brat. Yeah, because that's how that works. You know. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with using sort of like psychological tricks to gain insight or whatever. Right. But we are pattern-seeking creatures, and we like, you know, like we like horoscopes, and people are like, oh, it's true. Be like,
they're true for everyone. All of them are true for everyone.
Just I could have picked the wrong one out of the newspaper and told you that was yours, and it would have been true. Yeah, you know, because you're gonna find that pattern.
You find the pattern, you put the meaning in, and I will say that's probably one of the most important things of the book is that we have to make meaning of things in our world and in our lives, and all of these people that we're following are now off of autopilot. Yeah. They are seeing patterns in their everyday life. They are thinking about ways to live and what happens if it's cut short. And that really is how we should be thinking is, am I doing today what I truly want to do that's leading towards me achieving my goals? Yeah. And that it's meaningful to me.
Well, we were talking about this yesterday where I was saying, like, if you don't live on purpose, you're going to live on accident. And I guess what I mean by that is, like, if you are going places, and if you aren't going somewhere in particular, you are going wherever. Yeah. And and that's something I see in my job all the time. These people who had no goal, who had no drive, or they didn't have a plan, and they just like ended up somewhere because they didn't have like a course correction. Whenever they got off course, and were like, oh, I'm supposed to come back now and do all these things, and unfortunately, I don't think anybody. You're saying they're living more consciously or whatever, and like that's true, but I'm not sure that they're living more thoughtfully because what's the guy that Ethan keeps talking to? The workaholic?
Leo.
Your boy hadn't changed nothing.
No, he hadn't changed anything.
And like our little young couple, their plan is to handcuff themselves to beds, right? Ethan literally doesn't have a plan. He's just hoping to not get assaulted.
He did make a comment about how he's much more aware of his surroundings in public. He's like, wow, I know what it feels like to be a woman out in the public now.
Yeah. But I mean, but nobody's really changed anything. Nobody's like living their life to the fullest. Nobody's like, or whatever, And somebody even makes that argument, like, why? What do you mean? I've never lived yet. And I think it might be Cherry talking about her mom or one of her mom's friends.
Well, her mom says that.
No. It's. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
It was Cherry's grandma or Cherry's mom who says that I haven't lived life or something like that.
Yeah, and they're like, what does that mean? Like, why does like getting more stamps on your passport mean you've lived?
Oh, someone did say that, like, don't fall into this trap of thinking you have to travel to have lived.
And I feel like it was somebody talking to Sue. I feel like that's where this conversation happened. Yeah. So that's not like, Cherry's mom. That's
but two different things. Yeah. Both of these things happened.
Yeah, that is true. The old lady's got a bunch of tests done. Yeah.
She ain't that old. Sue.
So I mean, Sue's like.
She's older. Like in her 60s.
I think she's older than that.
She's still working.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was Dom's prediction? Did we get it? I'm going back to the beginning. I need to know.
Peggy's talking about the woman comment where Ethan realized what it was like to be a woman because he was like always aware or whatever. I guess I don't think about things that way. I am always aware, and it scares me when other people are unaware. Like if I wander up on you in Walmart and you turn around and you're like, oh, I didn't know you were there. That's terrifying, right? Like that scares me for you. I guess I don't necessarily know what it feels like, but I am always aware of how I could possibly make somebody else feel. Like if I'm at a gas station at night and it's just me and a lady, like I think about that a lot, but I guess I've never had this Ethan moment. Dom, late life.
Yeah. So he's gonna live.
Workplace accident is Leo, and his wife is the one who's really bought into it.
Right here at the end of our reading, she said, "Time to quit."
Yeah. And he was like,
"What the heck? Now I gotta pay the bills."
The workaholic thing is really interesting because like how many people there's definitely a generation of people older than us who bought into that, where they like their identity was the company.
Work is life. Yeah.
And it wasn't healthy. And I feel like we kind of had like a nice halfway point, and then people a little younger than us, like the pendulum is on the other side. Yeah. And then it'll come back.
Oh yeah.
But I think millennial people generally. It's not something that we don't struggle with, because I think I have struggled with this. But then, like after COVID, I was like, I'm good. Whatever, man.
I have one highlight.
Do it.
It's that they served salsa as part of the light snack on the plane. Yeah. I want to be on that flight. Anyway. So far, none of the people that we're actually following have died.
True.
Leo's coming up, and Ethan is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think one of them will die, both of them will die, or neither of them will die on schedule? What's your prediction?
I think they'll both die. I think the married girl's gonna die. Maybe they all die. I don't know. And like and I think kind of what's going to happen is we're going to start picking characters off one by one, and we'll have one left, and that character very well might be Cherry.
I
I
loved.
just don't feel like Ethan and Leo are going anywhere in life. So like whatever.
Well, I feel bad for Ethan and him coping with his friend's death and
Yeah.
all that. Um, I loved the doctor, or was it a doctor, that sat next to. We haven't even talked about her yet, really. The woman with the kid who's going to drown.
Yeah.
But the doctor that sat next to her, and he was like Scottish or
Yeah, the Scottish guy.
something.
Yeah, that was weird too, right? And like, is that just like, hey, this happens sometimes, and that was one of those other like true to life things that was in
Yeah.
there. And he was like, "Oh, thank you. Yes, yes." He enjoyed his prediction, I think.
Yeah. But like, yeah, we're only learning about, other people's predictions. Why is Peggy worried about her June flight?
Mom, Sue's not feeling the salsa.
Oh,
Yeah,
Carter's killing Ethan.
we don't actually know that Allegra is supposed to OD, but it's supposed to be self harm, and we assume it is OD.
Ah.
um, yeah, I don't know. It's just one of those things where like I want to know the mechanism. Like if everybody dies and it's accurate, and maybe that's the point, right? Maybe it just ends, and we're supposed to be like, so what? It's the Monte Carlo thing, right? Like she pointed at a bunch of people, she said things, they were all right, and maybe that's why the last person makes it out, because like we're supposed to have this ambiguity because we don't know if things are predetermined, we don't know if we have free will, we're just.
Right.
And I was thinking about this too. There's no reason why we can't have it's like very Descartes, I suppose, but there's no reason why we can't know that something's like messing with our free will. Like, what if you have free will and you choose something and whatever controls everything just is like, nah, let's reset that. You're going back, right? Like Matrix, and whenever the Matrix got like too far off track, they just like reset it, and they've done it like a bunch of times, so I don't know, but I think, yeah, it's going to be this Monte Carlo fallacy thing, right? We're on black, everybody's dying, one makes it out. What does that mean? Well, we don't know what it means.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. So yeah, that's my prediction. I don't know who's the last one.
Jerry. It's just gonna be
But
Cherry.
Cherry doesn't have a predicted death. One of the predicted death people has to live.
Maybe she does have a predicted death, and we just don't know.
Maybe.
Because we're learning her life story.
Yeah.
As the story progresses. I was sad about her dad.
Yeah. Well, so that was kind of an interesting conversation too, because after her mom said, "Well, you'll get struck by lightning at some point." It wasn't like that day. It was like at some point, and he was like, "What?" Or he said it.
He said, "I got life insurance because what happens if I get hit by a bus or struck by lightning?"
Yeah. Yep. So then later in life, not much later, but later, he gets struck by lightning, and then her mom says like, "Oh, well, I always knew," right? And we do this too, where we say like. We go back and we rewrite it, and I think we do this with dreams.
We do this with the book club every week.
Yeah,
I knew it. I knew that was going to be what happened.
And you don't know anything, but we are very capable of convincing ourselves of this. This also kind of makes me think of Inception. Like, what do you do once an idea is in somebody's mind? Have you seen that movie?
Inception?
Yeah.
Probably think so.
Yeah. But like, once an idea is in there, how do you get it out? And it's noodling around, and like, does that make it real? Does it, and the point of the movie kind of is like, what if you put into somebody's mind, this world is not real? And then like they start to believe it and act on it and all that, And then how do you tell? Like, because it might not. How do you disprove that? And so what do you do once you put into somebody's mind, you're going to die at this age? There was a conversation about Nostradamus where he predicted his death, but he predicted it the day before.
The day before he died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so Sue says, when you know your fate, do you make it happen, living it out? That's a reason why they don't want everyone getting pre-tested for future health issues, because it stifles your living. Yeah, well, I think that's one of those things where I'm going back to like where like I'm not, I don't like the free will idea, right? Because like if you are like, so if you are predisposed to depression, which is a thing that happens, or schizophrenia or alcoholism or whatever, you know, let's use alcoholism. If you're predisposed to alcoholism, can you just drink and not become an alcoholic? Like, you're just like, I just don't want to. Like, I'm going to drink as much as I want, and I'm just not going to become an alcoholic because I have free will. And, like, let me tell you what. I talked to a lot of alcoholics, and they all tell you they can quit whenever they want. And you know what they don't do? They don't quit. You know, and when they do quit, it's because they don't have free will. It is because they cannot choose. Like at most times to just up and quit. They have some impetus at some point to quit. Right? Something happens. Usually something terrible. And then they have to like live within that confine of like what they are capable of doing, and that's will, right? They still have choice. They can still choose to stop, but it is not free, right? There is this other thing out there. You know, if it was truly free will, you would be able to stop addiction whenever you like. You would stop depression. You would just be like, I don't want to be depressed anymore, and then you just wouldn't. Yeah. And it's just the concept of free will takes no concept of biology into account. So, or you know, like, what about these people with massive head injuries that become different people?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? You know, so. Yeah. So. And you know, I'm not saying that like you can't choose to like not be an addict. Like, I'm not saying that, but like you don't need to mess with you like but some people will say that, right? Like, well, I'm just gonna be an addict anyway, right? And I hear that all the time too. And this is kind of the point, right? Once you tell somebody you're an addict, or especially once you tell somebody like, well, you have a like intellectual disability or something like that, and it's not true, or it's not final, you know, whatever. You know, some people will choose to just live that, you know.
A little self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, and like, I don't mean that in like a free choice way. I mean, like, this is the kind of person who chooses to live out that narrative, whereas there are other people who are always going to choose to fight whatever narrative is given to them, you know, and that happens too. So.
And like with the nature versus nurture, like sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. Like sometimes you can change, you can nurture the nature out, and sometimes you can't. Like, again, there's just too many variables and too many factors. Yeah. I've seen it go both ways a lot. Yeah.
Well, the nurture just provides an avenue and expression for nature, right?
Coping skills and whatnot. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure you can nurture the nature out of somebody, right? Like, there's... but that's the point, right? Like, so... there are people who are just like sociopaths, or they're psychopaths, or whatever, right? They're born killers, right? That happens. But that doesn't mean that they have to kill. What it means is that you have to like hack the system, right? Given the parameter, and the way I think about it is this: if I give you wood and I say build me a brick house, you cannot. You can, however, build me a house. It's gonna be out of wood, you know. And so you can take what somebody has and then figure out how to get to where you want to go with that. You know, and we have foolish examples, I suppose, but like Dexter or whatever, like that guy's a sociopath, but he like helps the cops instead of murdering people. So like
he still murders people.
Oh, I don't know. I've never watched the show, but like,
yeah, he just murders
okay,
bad guys.
Bad example
that escape the justice system.
Sure, but that's my point,
that's
right?
How he feeds his
so
need.
You can find ways to work within the boundaries you've been given.
And that is a realistic example. Like, there are lots of people with, you know, like depression, just like base level. Yeah. And there are some people who are just like, well, I just have depression and that's just how I'm going to live. And they just kind of succumb. Yeah. And then there's other people that are like, I do have depression and I'm aware that this is a problem and I'm going to get out of bed every day, you know, and it's hard, and they cope with it. They come up with coping skills to work with what they have. And it looks different for everybody, but it is a thing.
Yeah. Sue says it's all about choices.
It's all about choices.
Doing hard things.
Yep.
But often you can't, and that's true, right? I mean,
Yeah.
and that's true. And some people love hard things,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and some people don't. But it's, you are making choices. You're just, and part of the nature thing is, I think, and part of the reason I don't buy the free will thing, because if you had free will, you could choose literally any choice. But I think our nature limits us on what choices we even can conceive
consider.
of.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, I mean, like these great tech, giants or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're just like, what if we had an internet? Your boy's not thinking of that.
I could never have come up with that.
Yeah. But like I have other ideas that they would never have.
I don't.
Well, I mean, they're not great ideas. I just have them. So, yeah. But and Peggy says that they're asking about whether or not they think that Cherry was doing the right thing by telling people, and they said it's like a trolley problem, right? Like it's you're kind of at fault no matter what,
Yeah.
And I think I agree. Trolley problem's a good way to think about it.
Yep. All you can do is the best with each day. You just gotta try your best every day.
I'm going to bring this up too, right? So, like Peggy's saying, admitting that you have a problem is changing fate. And so, like, the theory is if you knew the position of every molecule in the universe, you would know the next position if you knew all forces, right? And that's like the hard determinism concept, right? Like if I know the position of everything and where in its trajectory, I can predict the next position, and go from there. But that assumes a stable universe, and I'll bring it back to Three Body, where like, well, what if this is just like the corner of the universe that isn't freaky?
Yeah.
And so like, but again, there's no reason for us to be aware of like the fact that that's true either. This could just be like a weird lull point. Did Cherry hurt or help by telling them?
That's up to the person. You can only be hurt or helped by what you do with the information that you're given at any point in time. Nothing has happened. It's just their perception of these events.
Yeah.
That has...
Well, and so I did think about this too, because and this is this sort of Stoic idea. Nietzsche does this. I think this also goes back to Descartes as well. But the concept of eternal return, and I've been thinking about that with this book too. And like, what if this woman had showed up on the plane? And eternal return is the idea that like an angel or a demon shows up and tells you, you will live your life exactly as it has been with zero changes an infinite number of times, forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And so in a weird way, it is deterministic, because like whatever you've done in this life will always happen. It also means that like the choices that you make matter. So like there's kind of a paradox in there. But the point being is like you're supposed to tell these to yourself as a thought exercise. And some people are like, oh my God, this is horrible. And some people are like, yeah, that sounds great. I do that again. And that's up to you to build that.
Gotta live your life by design.
Yeah.
Not by accident. Oh yeah, no, the kids need to know how to budget. That's all.
Yeah. They needed a civics class.
It's cute watching them go through this. I mean, because everyone has gone through that, right? Like, everyone's had that thought of, like, I mean, I just want to live like a normal person, and I can't right now.
Well, it's funny because now you're voicing her thought where she's like, I know I'm going to think it's romantic in the future, but there's nothing romantic about being poor.
And like, when she Googled, like, why am I sad after my wedding? And, just all these little things. It's just very real and very funny and very cute. They're just learning and growing. Dom needs to go to the doctor.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Oh, it was just like whenever, like, what if I don't remember the young lady's name, but like, what if she does not die by spousal abuse, but Dom dies because he's handcuffed to a bed and like can't get out of like a flood or something? You know what I mean?
Or like throws up in his sleep or something and can't. Yeah. Jeez. I did laugh really hard though at him sleepwalking the Liam Neeson taken phone conversation.
Yeah, that was funny.
That was so funny to me.
And what was even funnier was when the girl was like, "It's from this old movie called Taken," and
I was like, old.
rude.
Get out of here.
That part was funny. Well, and what he's and I thought it was very insightful that he's always like, I can't find it, and what he's looking for is a solution.
Yeah,
that was
poor
really,
thing.
that was really well done writing, I think. So, but yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm excited to see how it ends. Yeah.
Well, we still got half the book to go.
Yes. Start today. The chapters do get shorter, right? And I think as people like start dying, I think we'll start getting like some oh my god, I'm dying chapters, and I think those will be short. So yeah, it's fun. I have already recommended this book to like a ton of people.
Oh wow.
It does kind of have the wrong place, wrong time vibes. So basically, if you're my friend and I recommended Wrong Place, Wrong Time to you, I have recommended this book to you also. Just because it feels similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah, the newlyweds are entertaining. They just have the most personality because they have the most growth in the shortest amount of time.
Yeah.
They are learning something new every day, you know. Wolf whistle, cat call.
Yep.
Yeah, I've heard them both.
Yeah, I've heard both.
I've heard them both ways.
Cool. Well, I think I've said about all I got.
That's all I got.
Yeah, we've almost hit an hour. We had so much to say.
Think something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Cool. All right, so we're reading to the end of the book, and then we are taking a week off. We do need to announce the next book, though, so we'll go ahead and do that. And just because we're taking a week off doesn't mean that we won't have a reading necessarily.
Right, we just won't have a show.
Correct. Yeah, we just won't meet. So we'll go ahead and start figuring all that stuff out, what our schedule's going to be as we head into May.
Wow. Time flies. Oh, yeah. He's a thing.
Yeah. I have a picture like that.
Do you? So funny.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for being here. Thanks for playing along. We will see you guys this time next week.
Happy reading.
Oh, it is Easter Sunday next week.
It is. Yeah, sorry about that.
So, like, heads up. Sorry, but it is what it is. Didn't know. So. All right. See y'all next time.